Hi, I'm Tony Kramer with RDO Equipment Company. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Agriculture Technology Podcast.
Every day, there are phenomenal advancements being made in the field of agriculture technology. RDO Equipment Company is a leader in agriculture equipment and precision agriculture technology and is here with industry experts bringing the latest news and information from RDO and John Deere.
Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. This is episode number 138, and today we are going to be talking about third-party data and the Operations Center. Before we dive into the show, please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast if you haven't already. You can subscribe to the show on the many different podcasting apps that we're streaming this out to, such as Apple's podcast app. We've got it on Stitcher, Overcast, SoundCloud, and we've recently added Spotify to that list. While you're out there, drop us a review. We'd love to hear what you think about the show. Lastly, make sure to follow RDO Equipment Company on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and catch all of our latest videos on YouTube. You can also follow me on Twitter at RDO Tony K. Now with that, let's get back to the show. We've got another episode of Jake and Tony Talk, and in this episode, we are talking about third-party data within the Operations Center. Now, when I say third-party data, essentially what I am referring to, Jake, is any data that's not coming out of a John Deere display. So maybe you've got Precision Planting 2020 displays, or maybe you've got a Trimble FMX display, or a Raven, or an Ag Leader. There are ways to get that data into the Operations Center. Now, one thing I will say, we, as much as we would love it if every farm out there was John Deere pure. Thank you, Kurt Crum, for that quote, for that hashtag John Deere pure. We know that it doesn't happen. There's some farms out there, maybe they run all green equipment, but they've got a red sprayer. Or they run all green equipment, but they've got a red combine. We know it happens. There's a lot of good equipment out there. There's a lot of good technology out there. Now, when you're dealing with multiple manufacturers, when you're dealing with multiple displays or platforms, it can become a mess because they might not all talk to each other. Now, Jake, I know one thing that you are very passionate about and one thing that you love, and I see your spreadsheet up there right in front of you. Within the John Deere Operations Center, we have got the ability to pull in a ton of other platforms' data.
Yes. Yep.
So let's just talk a little bit about what are some of those platforms that we can pull in from, and how do we do that?
Yep. So the easiest thing, you think about the most popular displays that are out there. Aside from the John Deere displays, you're going to have Ag Leader displays. You'll see Raven displays, be it the Viper Pro, Viper 4. You'll see the AFS Pro, say the 300 through the 700, even getting up to the newer versions, getting into the 1200 displays. You'll see the Android tablet-based, the 2050 displays that Trimble and Case IH offer. Kloss has their own proprietary displays and file formats. And up until, when was it? 2019? It was kind of everybody lived in their own space. And somewhere around, I would say, right around the time InfoAg happened, kind of that July, August timeframe of 2019, we saw this really big push in the agriculture data segment, and this big push to kind of stake your claim as being Ag Gateway compatible. And Ag Gateway, if you haven't ever worked with this or you ever never heard of Ag Gateway, don't worry, it's not a common thing that everybody really understands, but it's certainly something that everybody can appreciate. Everybody knows that John Deere has a proprietary data format. They have their own data card. Case IH has its own proprietary data format. Trimble has its own, very similar to Case, depending on which platform it is, but they have their own format. Kloss has its own format. Climate Field View and their cab app and their 2020 Seed Sense, they all have their own proprietary data formats, be it a DAT file, a CN1, a Voyager data card. Some of them come in CSV format, Ag GPS. You have the Ag data platform if you're an Ag Leader fan, the XML or the ISO XML platform if you're a CLOS fan. We know that. If we worked in those proprietary data formats, we know how those cards are supposed to look on a daily basis. But if you get into, the case where you have a John Deere data card and you have a Case data card and you have multiple combines that have different brands, it's been really, really difficult to be able to find a platform that plays nice with others. Up until around 2019, there was really only a handful of brands of GIS or FMIS type of platforms that would play nice with others. Deere was definitely not one of them. I'll be the first one to say when I first started working at a John Deere dealer here at RDO Equipment Company, I was like, I have a whole bunch of data cards that I can't do anything with. I have to live in this John Deere space. And Ag Gateway, to put it the easiest, allows everyone to have their own personality, but they all play nice. And so Deere can have its own flair, its own data card, the way that it wants to be read in by its displays. They can have their own software. Case can continue to do their thing. Climate can continue to do their thing. But at the end of the day, we can all kind of come to this consensus that we want latitude and longitude. We want a swath width. We want a basically, we're reading in from a sensor or we're reading in from a controller of some kind, or reading in from the yield monitor as it's collecting across its variety of sensors. We can all come to the consensus. We want to see yield. We want to see an application rate, and we want to see exactly where that was in relation to, the world. Everyone kind of could come into an agreement, and that was really the beginning of a lot of these platforms almost blowing up in a sense. It's like, wow, John Deere can work with all these different brands. It's because everyone came to a consensus in saying that we all want to participate in the Ag Gateway and we all want to work together. And we all see that the ball is going to move forward when we can collaborate, we can bring things in, and you can start digitally recreating the entire operation. And we all have to realize that not everybody's going to run just one brand. And that is, it's been the coolest thing. It's like we all know we do things special, but we also know that we all work better when we can come together as one, as an industry, and move forward. So it's a great data standard, and that's why the John Deere Operations Center is not just for John Deere. It's why we talk about Climate Field View more often now than we ever have. It's why we talk about the Raven series of displays, the Viper 4, Viper 4 Plus, the Viper Pro. It's why me as a John Deere dealer can feel proud in being able to talk about competitive data file formats.
So getting into those different file formats and being able to bring that data in, let's just put it into a scenario. So one of the things we deal with a lot here in our area, in the Minnesota and Dakotas, we have an all-green farm, but that farm is running precision planting components on their planter. So they're likely running a Precision Planting 2020, whether it be their Gen 2 or their Gen 3 monitor. We can get that data into the Operations Center, correct?
Yes.
So we go out and plant with that Precision Planting 2020 monitor,
right.
But I've got my John Deere Pure combine, but I still want my variety locator files.
You bet.
So how do I go about getting that Precision Planting 2020 data into my Operations Center?
There's two different ways to do it. The easiest, and it's going to depend on how large those data cards are, is literally take the display file as it came off the display and just put it in a zip folder. Just zip it, and then go into Files Manager in Operations Center and literally drag it across from your desktop to Files Manager. And that's really the easiest way that I could possibly do it. If you get into larger file formats, larger data cards, if you're going to do an entire harvest worth or an entire planting season's worth, Sometimes you'll get an error code that'll say, this is too large of a data card in order to bring in. Then a tool that is free, it's included as part of Operations Center, and it's downloadable from operationscenter.deere.com, is the John Deere Data Manager. And in there, it's as simple as kind of selecting where the file is at, where it's located, if it's on your desktop or if it's in a downloads folder or wherever, just select that. And Data Manager will literally say, here's the client, here's the farm, here's the field, here's the operation that took place, whether it be application or seeding or harvest. And in some cases, it'll even tell you what type of file it is. If it's a VOI1 file or a CN1 file, if it's a Raven file, it'll tell you what it is, what you're looking at, and you can select directly from that list what you want to bring in. If you only want to bring in 2 or 3 fields, or if you want to bring in the entire operation, you can just click the select all button and it'll bring in the entire data card. But that is it's an awesome tool. It's one of those lesser known things that we who work with it on a daily basis take it for granted that it exists. And when we get the new list that comes out, it's like Christmas morning for me every time John Deere releases their updated list of compatible displays. But that means we're one step closer to fully digitally recreating that farm and allowing you to document and analyze everything that took place, not just what took place in a John Deere display, even though we really do want you to do that because there's a lot of awesome benefits. I mean, just go back to our episode on Work Planner and you'll get a pretty good feel for what you're missing out on if you aren't working with a John Deere display. But we have to recognize that not everybody's going to run the exact same thing. And especially for an ASP who's working with compatible, data compatibility and competitive file formats on a daily basis, this type of tool is going to become your best friend because then you have the ability to bring in those data cards of all different brands. You can export them as generic shape files if you'd like after that. I mean, it's awesome.
And there's so many different situations where this can be a very valuable resource to a lot of different farms. Like you said, absolutely. In a perfect world, we would love it to every piece of equipment would be John Deere green and every display in that cab would be a John Deere Gen 4 display or even a GS3 display. But we know that, thinking back to prior to John Deere offering the F4 365 nutrient applicator, there's a lot of Terragators out there, a lot of 3-wheeled Terragators putting down fertilizer with egg leader displays or Raven displays, a couple different options out there. You can get that application data into the Operations Center. Another really common one that we run into is we'll see an all-green farm, but they'll have a Case Patriot sprayer. Case makes a great sprayer. It's a light sprayer, very light footprint. Yeah. It's there, but we want that data in the Operations Center because we want to make sure that we're getting every pass. We want to make sure that we're properly documenting our farm. Now, the Case Patriot sprayer isn't going to have a John Deere display in there. It's going to have the Case display, whatever you probably know better than I do. They're running the Case display. And then the same thing, the last scenario that I see every now and then is an all-green farm with a red combine or a yellow combine, the Lexion combines. Great combines. Again, those things eat corn. They're awesome combines, but again, we want that data in the Operations Center. So you take that Lexion combine, for instance, that the Kloss combine, the display, data that we're collecting out of that Kloss Lexion combine, can we get that into the Operations Center?
Yes. If it has there's a whole list, and you can find it on Help Documentation in the Answer Center and Operations Center for a full list, or literally at any time. Just send me a message on Twitter or DM me, and I will get you the full list. I have it. I literally have it on my desktop every day of the week. I look at it. Oh, look at that! You can bring in all this stuff. Yes, you're not going to be able to bring in every single thing. There is a list. It's just like any other agronomic farm management system, FMIS or GIS platform. You're going to have some limitations and deal with some compatibility issues. But really, I would say 95% of the displays that we see in agriculture, they're on that list. And yeah.
And like you said, John Deere is constantly adding to that list. So we get updates from time to time that says these displays have been added or these displays have been added. So I go back to going on my tangent of all of these different scenarios. You're absolutely right, Jake. Not every scenario is necessarily going to be possible, but there are a ton of them that are. I mean, the biggest ones out there being the Ag Leader displays, the Raven displays, the precision planting. Those are some of the biggest ones that are out there. So getting that data into the operations center, making sure you're documenting every pass, there's value there. Don't let different manufacturer, don't let a red sprayer stop you from having all of your data into the operations center. Don't let a red or a yellow combine stop you from having all of your data in the operations center. We can have it all there. Not only in the operations center can you benefit from all of that agronomic data, but all of your John Deere equipment, you have all of that machine information and everything that can be done from that standpoint. There's a lot of value in getting everything into the operations center from that perspective. So again, getting that data in, utilizing the data, a lot of different displays, a lot of different pieces of equipment. If you got more questions, please stop into your local RDO or your local John Deere dealership. Reach out to us on Twitter. You can find me at RDO Tony K.
And I am at RDO Jacob M.
That's another episode of Jake and Tony Talk. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you on the next one.
See ya.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode. If you have questions about the technology and products discussed, or have ideas about future episodes, please leave them in the comments below. You can also subscribe to RDO's YouTube channel and be in the know about each episode, or tune in on any streaming service. Thanks for listening.